Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again today for another fantastic webinar. If this is your first time joining us or your 30th time joining us, we are so glad you're here and we welcome you to come and get this information, and hopefully it will be helpful. Today, we've got a great new topic about a program that is available that many people don't even know about. I didn't even know about it. About in-home and parent training that is offered through the schools. We've got Ashley and Humaira here with us today. They're going to go through the information, but I've got a few things first to cover. So first of all, we are in webinar mode, which means that we cannot hear you or see you, but I do know you're out there. I see the number of participants. So if you have any questions as we're going through, we will get to as many of those as we can. You just need to put your questions and comments in the chat box, and we love getting those questions. It helps things to be a little bit more conversational. So feel free to put your questions in the chat box. We are recording this webinar, and later on today, anyone who registered will get a copy of the slides and the webinar link in their email. So you don't need to ask for that. It's just going to automatically come to you. Oh, and the last thing I almost forgot, we also have a podcast. So if you are listening on our podcast and you're interested in getting a copy of the slides, or maybe you want us to email you a link to the YouTube channel where you can watch the video, you can just email us contact@cpgcares.net, and we'll be happy to send you a copy of the slides or anything that you need. So again, I'm Michelle Morris with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a holistic financial planning firm. We're an independent firm based right outside of Houston, Texas, but we serve families all throughout Texas and all throughout the United States. And we focus mainly on helping families that have special needs loved ones. We have over 30 years of experience in investments and securities and insurance services. We've reached $1 million roundtable status, which just is an industry thing that means that a lot of people trust us and have worked with us. We are also members of the Special Needs Planning Academy, and we're nationally certified as Social Security advisors as well. So we take this very seriously. We live, eat, sleep, and breathe special needs planning. People come to us for things like protection plans for their family, for their income, lifetime care plans, transition planning, that period when your child turns into an adult. Even though there are babies, in the eyes of the law, they are adults when they turn 18. So a lot of changes have to happen then. And we help people prepare for those. We also do a lot of ABLE accounts, and helping families see where they can save money and put money aside for their loved ones without affecting their benefits. And we're here to advocate and educate for families. We know that you're in the thick of it, and it can get you can get kind of bogged down by all the details. We're here to help educate you so that the process of going through planning for your future, for your child's future, is going to be hopefully easier than what we had to deal with learning it on our own. Fewer than 0.1% of all of the financial advisors across the United States focus on specifically on special needs planning. So there's about 263,000 advisors, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 263,000. But only about 200 of them across the whole United States do what we do. So you are definitely in the right place today, and we're glad to have you. One more thing, just a quick overview of things that you need to be thinking of when it comes to special needs planning. And we'll talk more about this at the end. But one thing that we know keeps a lot of parents up at night is wondering, who is going to take care of my child once I'm gone? And these are just some quick tips for you to be thinking about. First of all, develop that future care plan as early as possible. That way, as changes come up, as your family evolves and grows, you can make changes incrementally and make a bigger impact on your plan over the future because of the long-term planning you've done. People will have time to be prepared and be ready to help out. Think about what is going to happen after high school. There are different vocational options, educational options, and residential options that you need to think about, and they might have wait lists. So if you find just the right program for your child, we would hate for you to then find out that you're ready to move your child into this program and there's a long wait list. So plan ahead for that as well. And finally, make careful considerations before you just say, oh, Sarah is going to take care of her little brother, Jacob, when we pass away. Well, Sarah, sweet sister Sarah, might have something else going on in her life during that time, or her own children that she has to deal with, or her own family and jobs and goals and dreams. And it might not be right to just assume that Sarah is always going to be willing and able to take care of her little brother. And maybe Jacob would feel a little bit resentful. You're my sister, not my mom. You shouldn't be taking care of me. It's not always the right fit to just assume that a parent, a sibling will care for their loved ones in the future. So think long and hard about that before you make that decision, okay? So without any further ado, I want to welcome Ashley and Humaira from Waymaker's Pathway, and they are going to tell us about this great program that really we need to learn more about. So thank you, ladies, for being here. I'll turn it over to you. And again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Ashley Bennett-Sigmund, and just a little background about me. I have been in the special education field for over 16 years now, and also in the special needs ministry for the 4 years. So total about 20 years of experience in special education. But I also have a child of my own with Williams syndrome, so I'm very involved with that organization. And during COVID is when Waymaker's Pathway developed, because our team wanted to make sure that we were able to educate parents as well as educators on a lot of things that maybe they don't know about, and one of them being in-home parent training. So we are here today to tell you more about that. And I'll let Humaira introduce herself as well.
Okay, hi, I'm Humaira Akther. I am currently a behavior specialist working with our special needs kids in Waller ISD. I started working with children with autism in 1999. It's been a long time. But that's where my passion is, and I just wanted to come help and spread the information about this great service that is free for the parents whose kids attend a public education system. And I have been an in-home parent trainer for 8 years with Spring ISD. Before that, I was a clinician working with children with autism at private clinics. And now I'm a behavior specialist at Waller working with all the SPED kids. So I am glad to be part of this talk today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So in-home parent training, it's basically like the topics that we're going to be covering today is what is it, who can qualify, where can in-home training / parent training services be provided, and how do you go about requesting it?
So what is in-home and parent training?
So in-home and community-based training is a related service that is considered as one of the 11 strategies on the autism supplement for a student with autism eligibility. And when needed, it should be addressed in the IEP. In-home and community-based training is a viable alternative that assists the students with acquisition of social behavioral skills. For example, the strategies that we sometimes talk about is like potty training, feeding, socializing when you go out into the public, to grocery stores if your child has a meltdown. There's no reason why a child should not be able to go out into the public. And there's no reason why a parent should feel like they have to find a sitter in order to be able to go out and get grocery shopping done. Or we've even assisted with going to get haircuts.
Yes.
So
And
really,
dentist appointments or doctor's
appointments.
any of those, any social skills and life skills that affect a child, especially children with autism, their lives can be addressed through in-home and parent training services.
And it's the other thing that, as you'll see as we're talking about it, that we work closely with the schools as well on the IEP, so that it is generalized from what's the expectation at school, and then what's the expectation at home, whether that be the dressing, the toileting, personal hygiene, things like that. So what is the purpose of in-home and community-based training? So a student with autism may have difficulty generalizing the skills, like we were talking about, from one setting to another, or one environment to another environment. So in-home community-based training is an option on the ARD committee may choose for a student with autism in order for a student to learn or reinforce social skills in a variety of settings. Now, I'm just going to say this now. You hear us say a child with autism, but it can be for any child with a disability. It's just in the state of Texas, it's emphasized on the autism supplement. So you'll hear us referring to it, but if you have a child with a different disability, it doesn't mean that you aren't qualified to have that opportunity to have this as a related service.
Right. A lot of times we will hear about a child who is toilet, like the teachers will say, oh, the student goes to the toilet independently in the classroom, but the parents are not seeing that at home. That is when for sure we want to mention or ask even during the art committee meeting about this service, is that an option where the teacher might directly or indirectly help us train the student at home, because we are not seeing that skill at home. So that's an example of what we look at.
So basically another purpose is just to assist the student with the acquisition of skills or behavior that can only be seen or taught simultaneously in multiple environments. So that includes the strategies that facilitate maintenance and generalization of critical skills from home to school, school to home, home to community, and school to community. So basically all environments across the board, we want these kids to be able to feel successful, and the parents take that burden of every time we go to HEB, my child melts down. Everyone's looking at me. Been there, done that.
Yes.
Yes.
So we want that, that's what the trainers are there to help you guys.
Yes. And
Yes,
community. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say for us, it was always clothes shopping, JCPenney's or Kohl's. Oh, my kids would they couldn't handle it. They couldn't stand it. So we've been there.
I used to tell my husband when I would get back home, I'd be like, I need a sign that says, please keep going. We're teaching life skills here. We don't need an audience, because she would ramp it up and start kicking and screaming in the cart when people would look. I'm like, okay, keep going, please.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. Nothing to see here.
It's not a show.
So in example of community would be, as she mentioned, the grocery store, the movie theater. I've done churches where I had to go in, schools, daycares, private schools. All of those are community-based, where we actually go to that environment and train the people who, work with the kids to manage their behaviors or the specific skill.
What about things like homework help? We have a question in the chat box. The student maybe does their work at school, but when they come home and it's time to do homework, they're not so much into it. Can you help with that too?
Yes, if that is a big issue where it's becoming a part of a problem where the student is continuously, maybe that's part of why he's not making progress in his IEP goals at home. that's definitely something that can be mentioned. Now, there are tiers, like tier 1 would be maybe talking to the teacher and privately, or the teacher might actually videotape only the student working, or if they have a token economy system or any kind of reinforcement system that they're using at school. And the teacher will say, well, actually, we have this that motivates him or her to work. And the teacher might say, give me a week and I can videotape and show you exactly how I work with him. And they can either provide you with that. If not, if the behavior is where the parents are like, the compliance is so bad, really, even a video, I can't do it. So that's when we will consider somebody coming, the teacher or somebody who is trained coming in the school and coming at home and showing exactly how to use that system to motivate the students.
Because the other thing would be, if the child's on medication for ADHD meds or ADD meds or any kind of medication, and by the time the afternoon comes, it's worn off. So sitting and doing homework is not an option. That might be where you go to the doctor and ask for a slow release, and maybe in the afternoon have a second medication put in place to where it will go a little bit longer and you can get the homework done. So it really, it's every behavior, every situation is different.
Yeah.
But we definitely, your teacher would be your first line of contact to see if you can problem shoot with them.
Yes.
And then, like Humaira said, if it's affecting their progress and especially their IEPs, then that is something that you'd bring to the ARD committee and say, my concerns are, and then list your concerns.
Yes, like for so many months, I've been trying, it's not working. What can, the teachers might even say that, okay, well, in that case, I might give a certain amount of time at the end of the day for him to actually sit and finish part of the homework or whatever, they might have more ideas, but yes, that's definitely, if it goes to a point where compliance is not, it's not working for months and it's affecting the IEP, yes, it can definitely be asked for as a related service assessment. Yeah.
So it provides the family with the skills necessary for a child to succeed in the home and community setting, which is like we were talking about with homework and things like that. Includes strategies for behavior management, adaptive skills, which we've mentioned, the toilet scene, develop structured home environments and or communication training so that parents are active participants in promoting the continuum of interventions across all settings. So unfortunately, we have a huge task as parents because we need to advocate in all settings, but especially that communication with with the teachers or any related service, whether that be occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy. You want to make sure that the language is the same, because that could be the one little thing that you're missing is certain verbiage or a certain routine that the child knows at school that you're not doing at home that could just make it work. So that's where, the trainers would help in that transition. So who would qualify for it? So this is on TEA. So for Texas, a student with autism is eligible for special education related services. The ARD committee must consider all of the 11 peer-reviewed research-based educational programming practices under the Texas Administrative Code. So in-home community-based training is one of the 11 strategies or options that an ARD committee may choose for a student with autism in order for a student to learn or to reinforce social skills in a variety of settings, which goes back to the autism supplement. And then all districts must consider the in-home training for students with autism and considered for students with other disabilities, like we mentioned earlier.
Right.
So the determination is based on the needs assessment that is completed annually. And then there's parent training. So we talk about in-home parent training, but really it's in-home training and then parent training. So parent training is something different. It's available to all parents through the districts and can be presented in a variety of ways depending on the individual district. So some districts will do webinars, some districts will do in-person. Some districts have libraries that the parents can come and check out books on certain topics. So it looks different in every district. And most districts have like a parent liaison that you can contact in order to get this information. So where should we offer in-home parent training services, or this is really in-home services? In the student's home, obviously is most ideal, especially if the behavior is occurring at home. In the community settings, like we said, daycare facilities for some of our kids that are in early childhood classes, the ECSE or elementary that still go to daycare. The trainers are allowed as long as the parent signs the waiver through the daycares, and we make sure paperwork is that they will let us come in. Recreational sites or other after-school activities.
Like parks. I've been to parks too, where this, a parent needed help because the student elopes from the park, like will run away from the student, and that's definitely a safety issue. And that's definitely one of the primary things we look at. Like because a lot of our parents just doesn't have one child, they have other children, and they would probably want the sibling to go, but then the problem gets to where everybody's there, but our students running away. That's when we kind of say, oh, that's definitely something we need to look at. We're going to look at options for in-home training or community-based training. And usually when I used to do in-home or community-based training, I did parent training parallelly. So the parents would be there, you have to be there. And when I'm training, the parents listening or observing me. And then if they have any questions, they can just stop me and say, why would you do that? Why did you do that? Okay, let me explain. And then we leave the parents with the recommendations.
So you mentioned a assessment, the needs assessment. Do the parents have input on that assessment? How does that work?
I think they do.
It depends on the district.
Yeah.
I should say that.
Yeah.
So
the teachers usually are the ones to complete it, but the parents go to the teachers, and the parents, again, the first contact should be the classroom teachers, right? So when the parents you say, hey, I'm not really getting that response that you guys are getting with for example, the toilet training, you're saying that he goes independently to the bathroom and will, tell you when he's not doing that, or she's not doing that at home. That's when the teacher will, part of the needs assessment will be that, and that is a big part of the needs assessment. So if any parent has any concerns, I ask them to reach out to the teacher first, and then just mention that, hey, this is an issue, and we would like to see if we can get some help with that.
So I had a situation when I did in-home parent training in spring as well, that the student would take off the clothes that she wore to school, get in her pajamas, and then want to put those same clothes on the next day. So she would wear the same clothes to school 2, 3, 4 days in a row. And her parents finally reached, well, as the teacher, because I did in-home parent training and I was the teacher. So as the teacher, I reached out to the parents to find out, do you need clothes? Like, is it a needs or is it a behavior thing? And they obviously were quick to say it's behavior. And so then we started the process, had the ARD meeting. So it is really a individualized basis of what qualifies. And again, the questionnaire is based on the districts, what they have on there. So the parent family support on the autism supplement, it's section 5. If you do have a child with autism, you want to look at section 5. And basically the purpose of the parent family training and supports are to provide the parents and families with the knowledge and skills needed for educational and post-secondary planning. So parent training services can be provided in both a group or individual setting. And like I said earlier, the formats could be different as far as just if you need books or if you need, the webinars. And then like resources like what y'all provide are also something that we'd recommend too, for them to get plugged into outside resources as well, not just what's offered through the districts.
So it's very personalized and individualized for what the student needs.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So the decision-making flow charts, and this is very, it's a lot, but just so you
It's visually a
understand.
lot, but
Yeah, just so you understand, when they're making, as the ARD committee, when you're making the decision for in-home training versus parent training versus community-based, these are the certain questions that they're going to be asking. Like, like you can see, in-home and community-based training are viable alternatives, and they're discussed as part of the AU supplement at the annual ARD. So we know that. Okay. So does the student have difficulty in the acquisition of social communication, behavioral skills, and/or generalizing mastered IEP objectives in the critical areas from school to home? Yes. Okay. So we're going to go to the next one. So this flow chart, you guys have access to it, but you can also problem shoot before you call an ARD meeting to say, you know what? Yes, I think that this is something that we need to look at for my child.
Right.
So you can kind of come with your reasoning right there.
Yes,
Perfect. It's a great tool for parents to have.
yes, for sure.
And then the give parents the training question. So the questionnaires, the parent identifies the need on the parent questionnaire. The parent completes needs assessment. Our committee identifies need. Because if it is something that's in the home, going back to the question earlier, if it's brushing the teeth or getting dressed, then obviously we need the parent input on that. But then we're also going to have the teacher input of, I know some classrooms do brushing their teeth after breakfast. And so that would be the question is, are they able to do it at school? Okay, then let's figure out what we need to do to generalize that to at home also. But they both weigh pretty heavy.
So here's a tough question for you, I'm sure. Why don't some schools provide this training even when the parent asks for it? Is it an internal policy why some say no and why some say yes? Or is it just
Every
goes back to
district
this
should be
Every district should be
providing the parent training.
providing, exactly, and then every district should be informing the parents about this service. What usually happens is, I'm sorry, I mean, I have years of experience in this, and I'm seeing, this is my second district I'm working with, and I've actually contracted with other districts, and what I'm seeing is that they're not really informing the parents that this is a option that provided by the state. So we need, as parents, we need to advocate for our kids, right? I always tell them that, hey, usually I always reach out and I say, reach out, please. That is an option you can ask for. This is a help that is free for you before you go outside and, pay money to, for anything. This is something that's free, and so ask for it. Sometimes the parents need to go ahead and be their kids' advocates and ask for that, and they will have to look at an assessment at that point.
And again, you said that even though it says at the top of this chart, autism, basically really what the question should be is, do they need help? Do they have?
Is it affecting them for being successful in their daily lives, whether that be through communication? I had a child that
behavior
was big time. The mom wanted to go to zoo because she had other kids. So here I am 8 months pregnant and he's an eloper. So I brought my husband with me. I was like, we're going to go and you're going to chase him if he takes off. But it was safety out in public, eloping, eloping to next door to knock on the neighbor's door. I mean, that's safety. So if you can validate how this could be an endangerment to your child not having this intervention, then you have a solid case, because they can't, neglect is not something that you can just ignore,
right?
As far as safety and neglect, things like that. So as a parent, if you are sharing your concerns about safety and they don't have autism, I think that's valid.
Yes, and I have worked with students who doesn't have autism, they're other disabilities, even emotional disturbance. Again, you look at individual. So especially when it's a safety issue, for sure that needs to be addressed. That question needs to be asked by the parents, that if this is an option for the parents.
So a parent can request the in-home training assessment at any time. They can request to have the meeting to discuss the needs for an assessment to be completed. They don't have to wait for the annual ARD. And that's for any concerns that
Any
you have.
concerns,
As a parent,
yeah.
you have a right. And I think a lot of times when you walk into an ARD meeting, you have the principal, you have admin, you have your related services, you have the teacher, and then it's you. And it's overwhelming. And you forget that you're running that meeting. This is your meeting. You know that child better than anyone else. And I think a lot of times we get overwhelmed with the number of people there that think they know everything that's best. And yes, maybe that is education. Maybe they know that better than you, but at the end of the day, you know your child better than they do. And so at any time, if you have any concern, you have the right to call an ARD. And for a student with autism, the ARD committee discusses the possible needs during the autism supplement. Like I said, it's the section 5. So you can go back in your AU supplement and see, did they address it? And if the ARD committee determines that the services are not needed, the committee must document the reason why the services are not needed on the autism supplement. But also, if you're bringing it up and you're requesting it through an ARD, they have to put that in the deliberations, why as a committee,
They decided
that
it's not an option.
your child doesn't qualify. I'll let you ask the question. What did you say?
You'll let me, oh, okay. So based on your experience, can you give an example of an assessment for students who struggle with homework at home?
I have not.
Or like, what would you do maybe to help a student who struggles with homework?
Okay, first, again,
Okay, great.
it's, yes, look
It's
at.
a high school that they're, is this
Yeah,
a
if
high
it's
school
a high
question?
school, I think it was a high school student, right? We were going back to, so, if a student is showing progress and great progress, and the teacher is saying, I don't have any problem with him working at school, then what are they doing, or what strategies are they using implementing in the classroom that is making the student successful? That would be my question to the teacher. Whenever, and if I see, for example, if my child is not working, I would be like, okay, this is being an issue. This is an issue. You haven't worked on your homework, and I'm going to reach out to the school, and I'm going to have to find out what makes you work there and what. So most of the time, our kids have some kind of reinforcement system or some kind of system that they use at school that the teacher can actually talk to the parents about, videotape, and provide the materials, whatever. Like if some of our kids use token economy system, some of our kids use like, penny boards, whatever, whatever's working in the classroom, they can actually make the similar kind and give it to the parent. That should be a viable alternative as a parent training part. So I hope that.
I guess my question also would be, are they out in the general education classroom?
Right.
Do they receive resource, or are they more in a self-contained like life skills class? Because that also will determine what you're going to bring up to the ARD committee, as far as if they are in resource and they're on track to graduate and they have the possibility to go to college, then you definitely want to make sure that their grades are not being affected because they're not getting their work done at home. But also you want to set them up for college because they're going to be on their own. They're going to have to do homework on their own. So that is a tool, a life skill that needs to be taught. Now, if you have a child that's in a life skills class, like my daughter is intellectual disability, so her track is going to look different. She can still go to college. I mean, A&M has, their own track for our kiddos with ID. But still, I want her to be able to do her work at home as well. So that's where the token economy, or are they earning money that then they can trade in for a store? Well, can she earn money for completing her homework? I mean, it's very individualized.
Yes.
But if they want to let us know which direction, we can give more of an idea of suggestion.
So depending on what the student can relate with, that will increase the the behavior of him working. Well, I mean, for your compliance, right? For me, money. I mean, for us adults, like why do we do like there has to be certain amount, like everybody is reinforced by something. And I read the question where it says, yes, in college, we do not have token economy system. That is so true. We don't. So the faster and the quicker you get on it and start using that, there should be any strategy for any child that is introduced needs to have a fading procedure. So whenever we add anything, we already think, okay, how can we fade this token economy? Like, for example, first he or she can earn 5 tokens and then he can get a break. But then that 5 tokens we will have to think about at the end of the day, it'll be 1 token. And at the end of the day, before he graduates, he will just work for praise, or our hope would be that he would work for something at the end of the day where he goes home and mom gets a note saying that he did all his work, and or like, you know, kind of like, or mom actually can work with him earning something very special at the end of the week. Like if he likes McFlurries, I know one of my kids did, you know, I said, okay, no McFlurries until you do this, this, and this, you know. And that was we started off, you know, giving him McFlurries on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then it was only on Fridays, and it worked. You know, of course you have to know the fading procedure. It can't be that quick. Yeah, it can be that drastic. But I encourage all the parents, like whenever you see a consistent pattern of behavior, reach out to the school and say, this is what I'm seeing. If you guys have anything to give me now, please do help me out.
So, and you can start off with, you know, like they were saying in college, there, you can't just, oh, did you do your homework? Here's a treat, because they're sometimes gone from you. But, you know, if you start young and build in these habits, then hopefully eventually the reward will be that intrinsic feeling of accomplishment. And I did it, and I'm proud of myself, and building on that, hopefully before they're out of our reach would be a great way to go about this.
That's what we hope. Yes.
Yes. So do you think that based on your experience in the IEP goals, is it better to have self-advocacy as a goal, or request the parent training, or you have that as a goal and you request the parent training to get that goal?
Okay, I'm not clear.
Sorry.
Okay, well, check out the last question.
Self-advocate for, is it for the student to advocate for themselves?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's definitely a skill that we always want the parents to do, but student to do. But if we feel, if a parent feels like they're not going to get it intrinsically, it's not going to work, that's when they can reach out and say, how can I teach my son or daughter to self-advocate for himself? Like, this is something I'm struggling with, ma'am, or teacher, whatever, to go up. That is a social skill deficit by itself. So the teacher should be able to say, okay, let me give you, maybe I can work with the student with some social stories, or maybe we can talk about it, how having stuff done will, you know, make your mom proud. Or I mean, there are definitely strategies that the teachers or the behavior specialists on the campus should be able to help with and provide the parents with resources on.
And that's what I was going to say. If the art committee decides that parent training or in-home parent training is not ideal for their child, you have the right to say, well, can I talk to the behavior specialist to get ideas? I understand that y'all denied services. They gave the reasons why. But you have resources that I like to talk to get a better idea of how to set up my child for success. And every educator, obviously we're not in it for the money.
Obviously not.
I mean, we do it because we love
Yes.
these kids and our kids, and we want what's best for them. And we pour, during the summertime, we really don't have summers off. We're going to trainings, we're creating materials, we're doing everything we can to set up the next year for our kids for success. So I would definitely say, if for some reason you go to ARD and you are denied services, ask for that parent information, and may I talk to a specialist then to get some ideas.
Right. The main thing I want the parents from this to take from this is that this service may not be highlighted all the time, but this service is available. And just be aware of that there is this service available out there, and it's free for you guys. And if an assessment is needed, and if you feel like, oh, I've tried everything and I'm really having trouble with this, look at the flow chart, look at all of the things that we talked about, and ask if this is an option for your students.
Because that's our final point, was just ask.
Yes.
To me, it never hurts to ask.
Yes.
I mean, I went in before I even started, because like I said, I went and worked for a church for a short time in a special needs ministry. And when I went back to public school, before I even got a job there, I went to my daughter's ARD, and I wanted her to be held back a year. Actually, I said 2 years, because I felt like developmentally she was 2 years behind. And the teacher and I talked about it, and then the principal and I talked about it. And I didn't know any of these ladies because we had just moved to this town. And I questioned them. I was like, well, I think 2 years. And they're like, well, we think 1. And I was like, well, why? And you have every right. And it's respectful. I mean, you're advocating for your child. And in the end, the principal made a valid point: maturity. You want your child to be with kids that are more mature. So let's do only 1 year. And I'm thankful for that. But those hard questions had to come out. And I would say, when you go into the ARD, already have those questions listed, and maybe bring someone with you so that you feel comfortable asking these questions. Because we go in all ready, and then the ARD starts happening, and all of a sudden it's like all your questions go away. And even as a teacher sitting on both sides, I can tell you it gets stressful, because you want to make sure that you're doing right for your own child. And as a teacher, you want to make sure you're doing right for someone else's baby,
Yes. And we want our students to be successful in every environment, not only in the school. That would not be doing the kid any kind of, service. Basically, they have to be successful in the community, and everywhere they go, they need to be successful. So
create that independence.
Right. Exactly. We need to be in this together. So
yeah.
I love this so much. So the first thing that they have to do, parents, just ask, just talk to your students' teachers, bring up your concerns, ask them about in-home training, ask them about these things, and find out about them, what they say.
So some of the key points that we covered today that we hope that you are taking away is what it is, who can qualify. Remember, everyone, you can ask for it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you're gonna get the service, but everyone can ask for it. But that parent training service, it should be offered in every district. And that is something that you don't have to qualify for parent training. That should be offered by your district, by your parent liaison. And then the how to request, it's simply just asking for an ARD. And through the ARD, you'll ask for it. They'll have the questionnaire, and then you'll come back to ARD for the decision making based on all of the questions. Questionnaires. So other resources that I find helpful on both sides as a parent and an educator, I just highlighted, they're hyperlinked. So you should be able to, will they be able to, Michelle?
Yes, when we send out these slides later on today, and again, yes, everybody is going to get a copy of this webinar, the recording and the slides. So when you have these slides later on, this will be clickable. If any of the links don't work, please let us know so that we can fix them for next time.
Yes. And these, you can, and some of them you can put in a search for certain questions and they'll pop up. So I definitely utilize that for any and every question you have with your kiddos. If you want further information about Waymakers or topics that you have, questions that you have, this is the email. Humaira also has her own email if you want to ask more behavior specific questions. She is your guru. So
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I've had parents reach out to me, and this summer we've gone to daycares and have observed and then gone into the home and helped troubleshoot. So if your district is denying it, there are other services out there that are private that could offer that for you guys.
Wonderful. Let me get through these last couple slides, and then this is a great time. Anybody who's watching, if you have any remaining questions for Humaira and Ashley, you can put those in the chat box, and then we'll get to those after these last few slides. So I really hope that you have enjoyed the webinar today. If you want more, these are the kinds of things that we talk about. We do webinars several times, almost every single week. They're always at noon. If that's not a great time for you, then check out our YouTube channel, because we put them all there afterwards, and you can watch at any time that it's convenient for you. So we talk about planning for the future, how much future care might cost, things like the waivers and other government benefits and programs that are available, ways that you can save money for your children that won't affect those benefits, like in their ABLE account or a special needs trust. When your child turns 18 and you can file for SSI benefits, and then later on SSDI comes along with Medicaid and Medicare, and it's a lot to think of, but we can help walk you through all of these issues. We've done panels with residential living communities or other programs, day programs, ISS programs. Those are always very, very popular webinars. We've done webinars where we have attorneys on board talking about guardianship and the process and how that all works. And then also educational options beyond high school and how to pay for those things. How is that going to get funded? Thank you so much for putting the link to our YouTube channel in the chat box. This link right here, when you get these slides, will take you to all of our upcoming webinars. You can register ahead of time for those so you don't forget. This is our team. Again, we work and breathe and live to help you and to help the special needs community. These sweet faces, especially the ones on the bottom row, we will be reaching out to you, so please be kind. Don't hang up on them or cuss them out or anything. We're simply calling to see if you have any further questions for us, or if we can help you in any way, or if you want to schedule a free consultation. And that brings me to this page. You can make us not call you by signing up for a free consultation on your own. You can use the QR code. That will take you straight to our calendar. You just choose a day and time that works for you. Or if that's not your style, you can call or email us. Our consultations, again, is completely free. We usually take about half an hour to 45 minutes to answer any questions that you have. We want to learn about you and your family and what your needs are related to special needs planning and financial services. And then once we learn about you and answer your questions, we'll tell you about us and how we work and what we charge and that sort of thing. And from there, we'll see if we're good to work together. It's not a high pressure situation or anything like that. Like I said, our main goal is to help you. And then, of course, our links are here for all of our social media, the YouTube channel, our Instagram, our podcast, and our Facebook page. So with that, we did have one more question pop up, and that was, can you please advise families who notice that maybe the IEP team is not presuming competence for the student? So how can the student and parents work to change that mindset if the teachers and the IEP team just assume that they can't do it?
They can't.
Or have you ever seen that?
I have actually, I mean, I've sat in so many ARDs and over the years, unfortunately, I have, and my jaw just opens up and I'm like, what? I mean, um, that is not their decision to assume incompetency or competency of a student, I mean, with the IEP goals, if there is any, like, how would you suggest
So,
that?
okay, I would say that if you, as a parent, if
Yeah.
you are going to an ARD or if you're getting the progress reports every 6 or 9 weeks, depending on your school district, and you see that it just says working, you have the right to ask for the data.
Yes.
To say,
How
well,
much
so do you
work?
have the data to show what percentage are we at to, like, let's say the mastery is 75%. Well, how close are we getting? Because we only have, 6 more weeks and then it's the annual ARD. So how close is he to mastering, or how close is she to mastering that goal?
And can you
The
show me
data is what drives it.
right, data drives all information, even decisions are driven by data, and I can tell you from a district point of view, we are both from the district point of view, we are held accountable for data. So we have to take data on everything. So I would also, ask for sample, you can also ask for sample worksheets,
Of what they're doing.
of what they're doing and how are they doing? Like, they will say, oh, I help, if a student said, the teacher says, I helped him with this and this and this. Okay, well, can you show me a work sample of how long it took him to do this much? And you have, as a parent, every right to ask for those things. Just remember, you have to just ask, okay? Any concerns? And I always say, parents, if something doesn't feel right,
It's not right.
it's not right.
Yeah,
Okay.
follow your gut.
Yes.
And
instinct. Is
So
really
let's
important.
say you do ask for the data and they cannot provide the data. That's when you can move up the chain and go to your special education director for the whole
Right.
district. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go jump right there. But if the principal is not holding the teacher accountable, if the data isn't there, then it needs to be addressed, because that needs to be known on a district level that, hey, this is a problem. Because if it's happening to your child, it could be happening to the other 11 that are in that class.
Right.
Or 30, depending on what class they're in. But data drives every decision. So there should be data to back up the progress reports.
Right. Why they don't feel competency in the student. I mean,
Yeah.
why do you feel that? Can you show me why you think that? Where's the data?
Well, and I'm
That
a
would be
behavior
my
teacher.
question.
Yes, so I'm a behavior teacher, but I've taught everything from PPCD or ECSD, depending on what district, to life skills,
She's an
CAMs,
amazing teacher.
to sales or structured learning, which is typically your students with autism or a student that needs more structure, to behavior, to resource. I've done it all, actually.
Yeah.
So I currently am a behavior teacher, but with my kiddos, they're out in general education. And so I'm holding that teacher responsible to make sure they're getting the work done. So my data is based on their behavior, and they have contracts that I then, at the end of the 9 weeks, we go back and I figure out, okay, 80% of the time they're on task, they're doing what they need to be doing. So we're moving in the right direction. But if for some reason their grades are failing, then that behavior should be showing too. That means that they're off task, like it should be mirroring each other. If they're failing, but they've been on task and the teacher said like they're doing great in class, okay, something's not matching up. So definitely there should be data, however you want to say it, it should be there.
Driven, yes, for sure.
Yes, yes.
Ask
There's another resource that we know of. I don't know if you ladies have met Karen Meyer Cunningham yet, but that's what she says as well. Data. That's her favorite word. And
she's good. I like her. I like her a lot.
I like her a lot. If you're struggling and maybe the teachers aren't listening to you in the ARD meeting, the IEP stuff is not getting done. She is a great advocate to have on your side, and she will make things happen.
My hope is that every teacher, I mean, when those kids walk in, when I talk about my kids, that like my friends have to be like, hey, which kids are you talking about? The kids at
Are you
school,
talking
or
about
the
your-
personal kids?
Your
'Cause
kids,
they're all my
really.
kids. I mean, we FaceTime during the summer, we go out for ice cream, like the relationship is so big and the trust is so big. And for me, the parents, like we're working together. You're not in your lane, I'm not in my lane. We
Mhm.
have to work together and collaborate together to succeed. And my hope is that every teacher feels that way.
Yeah.
And every teacher goes above and beyond to create that relationship across the board. Because for me, if I get the child in kindergarten, they're with me until 5th grade, unless
Mhm.
they move out of my program.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I would hope that every teacher is advocating for their kids, but I know there are some teachers that,
And if you don't see that as a parent, please ask questions. Especially for us, we're in behavior. I'm a behavior specialist, so all I see is behavior.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, she has more time to build a rapport with them, but I make sure that my rapport time with them is way more than my time with them when I'm addressing the behavior. That way, again,
so they're more calm
relationship.
when they're calm.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I can tell that student what to do, and there's a better chance for the student to do what I ask him to do if I have a relationship with the student. So,
The job.
Well, thank you again, ladies, so much for being here with us today.
thank you.
And all of the participants, check out your email. You'll have this in your email box later on today. And if you have any questions, the contact information for Humaira and Ashley will be in that email, as well as contact information for Consolidated Planning Group in case you need us. We are all here to help, so please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns that you might have. Thank you, everybody. I hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoy
guys.
the rest of
Bye.
the week. We'll talk again soon.
Hope you guys have a good school year.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.